What do you do if your partner doesn't want to work on your relationship? It's a question we hear often, and it can be one of the most frustrating and isolating places to be. You want to make changes, seek help, and improve things, but your partner seems hesitant or resistant. Hello, and welcome to Love Shack Live. This podcast is for those who find themselves at a relationship crossroads, facing daily conflicts and a growing emotional gap, and who also aspire to rebuild a bond that feels genuine and lasting. I'm Stacey Bartley, relationship expert, joined by my co-host and lover Tom and our daughter Brooke. Together, we're here to help you navigate the complexities of relationships, especially during those tough times. In today's episode, we're tackling that very question. What do you do if your partner doesn't want to work on your relationship? Are you just stuck? Do you just hang out there? Do you just wait into the eternal abyss? And why might they be hesitant? We're bringing back one of our most significant and enlightening discussions in this episode. For those who missed it or want a refresher, we're diving back in to explore the emotional drivers behind our behaviors and how understanding these can transform all of your relationships. If you're hearing this for the first time or tuning in again, you're going to gain unique insights and practical advice. Prepare to learn why understanding the emotional reasons behind your partner's actions can lead to breakthroughs and how to approach these sensitive conversations with compassion and clarity. So buckle up and stay with us, because you're about to dive into what if your partner's reluctance to work on your relationship isn't about a lack of love or commitment, but something much deeper, something they may not even fully understand for themselves. Join us as we uncover these hidden fears and discover ways to bridge the emotional gaps that exist in your relationship today.
Hey, thank you for coming. Welcome to the Love Shack.
This is a question that we get often, and it can be a very frustrating place. And unfortunately, it's where couples spend a lot of time in their relationship when things are not going well. Somebody wants to work on the relationship, improve it, get some help, learn some new skills because they understand that things aren't working the way that they are currently going. And there always seems to be one coming along behind that's just dragging their feet, has lots of excuses, says it's not good timing, we don't need help, we don't have to do that, we fix our own problems. And the litany of excuses goes on for not just days, weeks, or months, but literally years.
So we're going to share, we get asked this, I would say it's in our top 2 or 3 questions. Mm-hmm. And the good news is we have some great news for you. Really, we do. And I think it's somewhat atypical kind of out there in the space. So, buckle up and this is going to be a valuable episode for you if you're stuck in this place thinking that you can't do anything unless both of you, you and your significant other also raises his or her hand.
Yeah. So, what might be going on in the mind of the partner that doesn't want to get help? Like, where we tend to go with this question is, well, just think about where you go right now while you're listening to my voice. Like, what have you made up is true about why your partner doesn't want to get help? Is it because they don't care about the relationship? Is it because they don't care about you? That's very, very common. We start taking it very personal because we can see the fighting escalating. If you're by chance the one that's out there on the internet doing all the wonderful little quizzes and surveys and figuring out your love languages, that puts you in a position where to encourage your partner to get help, you're diagnosing them. You're labeling them. Oh, I see. You're codependent. I'm an anxious and you're an avoidant. Oh, I see. The love language is the problem. And yet it doesn't seem to move the needle. In fact, it absolutely oftentimes breaks your relationship down even faster. So let me ask you this. Let's set all that aside for a moment and I'm going to ask you to take a trip with me because it's going to help you really understand perhaps where your partner is by asking you, have you ever had the experience of breaking a promise or an agreement, let's say with a friend or a coworker, and then feeling kind of embarrassed about that, a little awkward, not quite sure how to clean it up or what to do about it. You just want to avoid it and you just kind of want to forget that it's happened. But then you're in the grocery store and you notice 2 aisles over is that same friend or coworker.
Oh, shoot.
And then you're going, how do I get out of here? Like, can I just duck and dodge it? So I'm going to avoid the aisle. I'm going to leave the store altogether.
That's a horrible feeling.
It is a horrible feeling. And you know what? We've all been there. Like, I really want to universalize this. Like, we have all been in a place where we have broken a promise or an agreement to someone, and now we feel funny and awkward about it. We're not in a place where we really want to take it on and address it. So we do what? We try and avoid it, avoid the person, avoid the conversation, avoid going there, bringing it up. And just think about the anxiety that spins up in you when it's happening.
Talk about a exit stage left as fast as possible.
This is making me remember I was married once before and now I'm divorced. And when my ex-husband he said this a lot, maybe we should get some help. Maybe we should talk to somebody. I was working for you guys. So I was working for someone that could have helped me in this space. And I was encouraging other people to get help for their relationships every day. That was my job, and it still is my job. So just so people can really understand what the other person sometimes feels like. If you are the person begging your partner to work on the relationship, this is what I was feeling as the person being begged. No, I don't want to go have someone tell me that there's something wrong with me. And then I'm going to have to take responsibility for all the wrongness that has occurred, because that's kind of what I was being told to believe about myself. And then what if they tell us we have to get a divorce? I don't want to get a divorce from you, even though I should have. And my life is better now that we are divorced. But it created this deep, deep fear inside of me. It had nothing to do with not wanting to save the relationship. I wanted to save the relationship. I wanted with all of my heart at that time to stay married and to make it work. And I thought going to get help would be the thing that caused us to get a divorce.
But let me ask you, Brooke, would you also say there was added trepidation or outright emotional distraught, thinking that you may go to mom too, and you're a part of a platform that just because we're part of this platform, none of us should ever have a problem in our relationship?
Yeah, totally. Like, it was embarrassing for me. I felt embarrassed. Like, I'm telling everyone how to have these great relationships and I'm failing in my own. Yes. But mostly I want to express that I don't think when we are begging our partners to work on our relationship with us, I don't think we consider that as an option, that they're scared that the working on the relationship will be the demise of it. We just think, oh, they don't want to work on the relationship, or, oh, they don't want to come to the table because they don't care about me. It could often be the exact opposite.
Oh, very much, and often very much is. And that's why I brought up that scenario. Like, we've all broken promises, made mistakes, made messes that we're not quite sure how to clean up, and quite honestly feel reluctant to take responsibility for or face off on ourselves. And very often that's absolutely what's at the foot of it. It's not so much about not wanting to work on your relationship. It's mustering up the courage to confront myself and to look and to do an exploration of what I've done in this co-creation or contributed to, and or nervous about where it's going to take me.
For people who are having fear that if they come to have a private session with Stacy, who I also call mom too, that she will be the judge and jury of whether or not you stay married or get a divorce or break up or stay together, I just want you to know she will never give you that answer. She is not that kind of person who helps you with your relationships. She doesn't make that decision for you, and she will not recommend one way or another. She leads you on the journey for you to make that decision.
Thank you, Brooke. And that's absolutely the truth. And that's an important caveat, because there's only two people that are going to be able to live out once that decision is made. I'm going to go back to my life, and there's only two other people that are going to be affected by the choices and decisions that are made in our sessions or in our time working together. And those two people are you and your partner. And so what right do I have to tell you what it is you need to do? Those things need to be explored and determined by the two of you and the two of you only. I can only point you in the places and improve your skills in regards to how to have the conversations and explore the possibilities of where it is we go next. And it's very real that neither one of you know. In fact, you don't know. Like, it's going to be a journey. You can't make that decision before you start and get help. That's a decision and choices that are made along the way as we improve our understanding of ourselves and each other. What I wanted to say is, so when someone says no, that I don't want to work on this relationship, and we probably take it personal and make up some ridiculous excuses as to why that's not happening, I just want you to remember this. Okay. No does not mean no. Instead, no means I'm not ready to talk about it. I'm terrified of being vulnerable. I'm afraid of what's going to be brought up in the sessions because I know I have some things that are awkward. Remember that conversation we talked about as we opened the show of being in the grocery store, and you've got some broken agreements and some messes that haven't been cleaned up, and you don't really want to go back there. We don't want to talk about the past because that makes me feel uncomfortable. And so there's some things I don't want to have brought up because, well, I'm not ready to face off with that. Or I feel guilty and feel that all of this is going on because it's me and my fault. And again, I'm not ready to confront myself. Or how about I'm not sure if I can handle it emotionally without losing my shit. Like, I'm in a place where I'm hanging on by my fingernails and I'm not quite sure I can go there. Or what about I'm afraid of saying what really doesn't work for me because I don't want to hurt your feelings. I've got a lot to say and I've got a lot that's built up over the years, and I'm afraid if I let it all out, it's going to hurt your feelings, destroy what we have, and we're going to be done. Which brings me to the next thought that's often shared is I'm worried if what we confront ruins our relationship and creates a divorce, and that's the divorce I've been trying to avoid for years and years and years. How about this one? It will devastate me to hear the truth of you and what's going on for you, because in my mind, believe me, I'm carrying a horror picture that's probably far worse than what's going on with my partner. But I have a horror picture that makes me the bad guy in the situation or the bad woman.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Navigating the silent, complex moments of separation or your partner's need for space can feel like walking through a maze without a map. If this sounds familiar, know that you are not alone. This journey, filled with uncertainties and introspection, requires a gentle, understanding guide. Hey, I'm Brooke from Love Shack Live. We see you, and more importantly, we get it. That's why we created the Separation Support Bundle, a collection of resources designed to not just guide you through separation, but to offer comfort and clarity during these times. Our separation guide offers insights and support to help make sense of your emotions and the process of separation. And for those moments when words escape you, our guide on 10 texts to send when navigating space provides thoughtful prompts to help communicate with compassion. Plus, a soothing separation meditation to help ease the overwhelming moments. Because sometimes all we need is a starting point, or a way to start feeling okay again. Remember, you don't have to journey through these complexities of separation alone. Our Separation Support Bundle is here to accompany you, guiding you towards healing, understanding, and most importantly, the renewed sense of self. Visit stacybartley.com/bundle today to access your free separation support bundle. At Love Shack Live, we're all about exploring the real stuff that relationships bring, the good and the challenging. So let's tackle this together, because even in the hardest times, there's hope, growth, and yes, even love to be found.
So let's say, okay, someone starts to work with us. This just came up in a clarity call. It's a great question. The husband, the wife, whatever, starts to work with us. And then the I like to say it's the hesitant partner. It's okay. Heck no, I'm not going to go start working with you and those crazy people from California, because invariably I'm going to be doomed. There's no way that Stacy's not going to point me out to be the one that's a troublemaker. I mean, think about it. That's a very logical thought process. Yeah, it really is. So just want to absolutely assure you. Especially, and I just want to add the caveat on there.
Who's interrupting who now? I know, but especially if I'm the one that knows I have anxiety issues and I can't keep it together, or I have anger issues and I can't keep it together, or maybe I've had an emotional or physical affair that's been uncovered, or I have an addiction problem. In those situations, believe me, me as a person in those situations know that what I have done has greatly affected the relationship.
Well, heck yeah.
And just like somebody has to get to the right place to face off with some of my anger issues or addiction or some of the other things that we can struggle with, my mental health challenges, we have to muster up the courage in order to do this too. Like it's the same, it's similar, and it's not so much about you as it is, like I've already said, the willingness to confront themselves. Like you have to understand that's the most courageous act we ever do as a human being. Like that takes a lot of courage to face off me.
So if that person that we just spoke to him or her and say, okay, yes, that's exactly how I feel. It ain't no way in heck I'm going to, step into a session. What could you share with him or her that they're going to quickly experience that that's not your approach? That's not how you, because I assure everyone that that's not, but how would they feel that and know that quickly they stepped in and they're nervous wreck? How do you assure them that that's not how you?
Well, let me just say this. The principle that I know that not many people do is that when we understand the emotional driver of the behavior, what's happened always makes sense. It's kind of like, of course you have anger issues. Of course you have mental health issues. Of course you had an affair. But we never get to the point where we understand the emotional driver. We just talk about what happened, the experiences of what didn't work and how and what led us there, right? It's a difference maker because if we do know how to uncover the emotional driver, it always comes from somewhere and it always makes sense. There is a principle also that we can't punish a person enough to clean up the mess. Like they're punishing themselves enough for everybody, believe me. Like what they carry after making some of these decisions or finding themselves wrestling with some of these things is far worse than anything that you're doing. And when we as a specialist, a relationship person trying to give help, or you as their partner or friends and family just continue to bang on them and criticize them and minimize them for what it is they're not doing, we're just adding to the weight. And there's no motivation there. I mean, think about it. Have you ever been more motivated to muster up the courage to confront yourself, to go in a new direction because people punished you, criticized you, belittled you, minimized you? I mean, no. That's a terrible way of motivating or inspiring us or giving us the hope that we need to go, I think I can do this with you. I feel safe enough to do this. We're going to make it through, right? Hold my hand. That's what they need. They don't need you to criticize them, point out the flaws, point out all the problems in the relationship, which is what we tend to do. They need to be able to create a foundation of safety and courage to step in, because obviously by saying no, it's not no forever. It's just no, I don't know how to take that on right now. Like that's way over what I feel I'm capable of. That's really what they're saying. So I have some solutions for you for this conversation that will help you basically talk about and open up better ways of exploring the help and support that you need to go in a new direction if by chance you find yourself in your relationship right now really struggling. And if you're not struggling here, I guarantee you there's somebody in your sphere of influence who is. And I'm going to encourage you to pass this along and share this information with them, because we've got to stop the criticizing, the banging on, the minimizing, basically the punishing the person to get them in to get help. Like that's a terrible way to go about it, in my humble opinion. And also reassure them that that's not how we roll over here, right? Not in the Love Shack, not in my private office, and not in our Better Love Club. That is not allowed. There's an exploration that needs to go on. And when we uncover those, sometimes the person doesn't even know what's driving it. When we uncover those, it all makes sense. It's like, wow, of course that happened.
And may I ask just one follow up on that? So when you start working with someone that has that an inevitable, very realistic fear, because he or she maybe has been the one that has initiated the less than, say, desirable behavior for a specific, situation or whatever, do you find that he or she quickly starts to feel and resonate what you just described?
Oh, it's such a relief. Right. Because what they're bracing themselves for, or what they're mustering up the courage to face, is to go, well, see, Amy Lou had an affair. And I'm going to go, Amy, how could you? Like, didn't you know that was going to destroy your relationship? I mean, what were you thinking? That's what they're expecting. Or Harry, with his anger management issue. Harry, what do you mean you punched a hole in the wall and told the kids to go to their rooms, spanked them unnecessarily? Come on, Harry, pull it together. That's what they're expecting to hear. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? And that doesn't happen. And there's just this moment of sweet relief when we get 30 minutes into the session going, oh, okay. So it's like, we have to uncover what drives that for you. Otherwise, we'll never be able to change the behavior. And I want you to know there's always a really good reason for the behavior we do. We just never take the time to understand what drives it. And when we can do that, then we can all create a whole new understanding. And the person who has been struggling with this for years goes, oh man, that makes so much sense. And their partner, that's been using this as the whipping stick for, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years can go, wow, I never knew. That makes so much sense.
Also, it's not like you're going to come in to Mom 2's office or the Better Love Club or a Zoom private session, and she's going to take a score sheet and then tally up whose problem is whose and, prescribe you, okay, John, you have these problems. Samantha, you have these problems. Yeah, you have too many, divorce. Here's your papers. Go fill them out. Like, the thing is she's going to teach you some areas where you're struggling, give you then the things to put in your toolbox so that you can change that behavior and have some skills to go back to when that stuff comes up again and again, because it's going to. But the truth is, it's not about coming in and being told what's wrong with you or being told, given a diagnosis or told, yes, stay married or break up. It's about being taught skills, and then the work is done outside of the sessions. The work is not done in the room. It's like that. I think that's a misconception about getting any kind of help for your relationship. It's not about what happens in that 1 hour. It's what happens after that hour is over.
Well, I would say that's going to be whether you're successful or not, is what Brooke so eloquently said. And that's why we have the Better Love Club, because we get in there and you start doing some emotional push-ups. Literally. How? Because we do breakout rooms and things. Obviously, it's a metaphoric description, but that's the only way that any of us gets better at anything. I always remind people, like, look, the best athletes, the best business people, the best chef, whatever the best of as everything, they do it through lots of practice. Lots and lots of practice. And that's really the playground that we all come together in a safe, sacred space and get better at this thing we call love. And when you think about it, it's pretty understandable, if we can put our arms around and explain it that way.
Well, and if I just may stack on that, what changes the experience you're currently living is the ability to change your behavior.
Yes.
And in order to change your behavior, it's going to require the practice of doing new things. There is no other way around it. And that's why we give you the skills and the learning, as well as a place to come in and practice those things we talk about and that we teach. Because until we can do that, it's very difficult to uncover some of the things that we've talked about doing. And unfortunately, what Brooke described so eloquently about a traditional counseling approach is very much that scorecard comes out. And it's basically the person becomes the scorekeeper. Mm-hmm. Oh, 3 points for Jim. Good point. Or, 2 points for Mary. Oh, gosh, Jim, could you say that a little better? That was really terrible. And then, yes, they will make the bold decisions of there's nothing to work here. Like, we can recover from anything if you have two people who are willing to do it. And I say do it means I'm going to be working on me, because that is what I bring to the table in order to co-create with you. So when I say let's work on our relationship, what I'm really saying is I need to do a better job of looking at me, because how I do it is going to affect my part. And then I'm going to be able to see where I'm doing my part and my partner maybe is struggling. And if I stay out of blame, there's going to be a reason why that struggle is happening. And we can talk about ways to support that and go forward. So working your way out of anything is absolutely possible. You just have to have two willing people. And that's why I say our greatest risk is just running out of emotional gas, and that time frame to muster up the courage to get the help that you need really does drain us emotionally. It wears us out, and that's why they end. We just can't take it anymore. And rightfully so, we shouldn't. When a relationship takes us to a place where we are personally breaking down and we're falling apart, that is not a breakthrough. That is a breakdown. and you have to know the difference. We need a breakthrough. And if you're not willing to do something outside of what it is you're currently doing, that breakthrough can't happen. You're just going to continue to break down. And that's why we're always saying, okay, sooner rather than later is good. And please know we're not going to judge anybody and point fingers like, come on, this is a supportive environment. I promise I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. You're going to figure that out. I'm just going to give you the skills and tools and understanding that you need so that you can have a productive conversation about how do we move forward. That's it. That's what you're going to do here. Okay. So to get that conversation going, here's the solutions that I wanted to jump into that can give you some step-by-step things that you can begin doing right now to maybe open up this conversation with a reluctant or hesitant partner. The first thing that I'm going to invite you to do is probably going to make you gulp. So I just want you to brace yourself. Okay. Hard swallow, take a breath, because here's what it's going to take. If you're wanting somebody to come and join you in getting help with your relationship and you're going to extend an invitation to them, the first thing you're going to need to do is get vulnerable yourself. Like you're going to have to drop all the reasons and all the begging and all the pleading, and you have to stop obligating them to do it through the acts of manipulation, and you have to get vulnerable. You got to get real. And essentially that's what you're asking them to do, isn't it? It's kind of ironic. You're asking them to share with you why it is, please, come on, tell me from your heart. Why won't you get help? What's the problem? What's the resistance? As you're going, oh, great. Okay, so we're just going to do this all the time. So like you're just done, like this is over.
So may I point out, would you say that's a great demonstration of what we say many times? You're behaving in the very way of what you don't like in your partner.
Oh, for sure.
Hopefully you caught that. For, you know, if you're driving now, really take that in again. I mean, because when I share that with people on the call, I think oftentimes I think I've lost connection with the person because it goes really quiet. Mm-hmm. And I'm simply pointing out how we all do it. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. You're behaving in the very way of which you don't like that's being demonstrated with your partner. Well, that's pretty incongruent.
Or you're asking them to go places that you're not willing to go yourself. Like, just open up and tell me, come on, I'll do anything, right. You know?
And again, it doesn't matter what you say. It matters how you behave.
Well, this also reminds me of parenting. I'm not a parent yet, but when parents say, please tell me anything, I promise you won't get in trouble if you tell me, and then you ground them when they tell you something that you don't like. It reminds me of our TikTok about emotional affairs, which a lot of people comment on and still have commented on, and some are commenting right now as we speak, and I'm looking at them, so it's kind of bringing it up in my mind. People say, well, you ask your partner to answer these questions because you've listed out some questions on the video that are more important than finding out the details of the affair, and they'll just lie to you or they won't tell you the truth. And here's the thing, finding out that someone is cheating on you, I can't imagine a more painful situation. It's terrible. We're not saying it's not terrible. It's terrible, and it's painful and it hurts. But why would your partner tell you the truth about the affair that they had if you're asking them in a way where they know they're going to get berated? Or, you know, like, why would they tell you those answers if they know that when they answer them, they're just going to be put through the meat grinder?
Yeah, there's going to be hell to pay. Yeah.
Yes. So that's all we're saying. Like, why would your partner want to work on the relationship if they know that it's going to be a shithole for them? You know, even though there's pain there, you still have to remember that they're a human too, and they don't want to face the reckoning if they know that that's what's going to take place. So why don't we come at it from, hey, I want to work on this relationship because I love you, because we love each other, because you know.
And I think it's fair to say, I mean, again, throw the outliers out in any situation. Yes. But I would say with great love and respect, it would be my sense that those of us that have made these significant, say, missteps, we certainly know that that was maybe not the best choice. But I also often remind people, too, it also confirms to me without a shadow of a doubt, at the end of the day, sometimes we're gasping for emotional air, and we're going to take these so-called egregious actions that we know is at great risk and peril because we simply have nothing left. It shows you how desperate we are sometimes. Again, I am not defending it. I'm only helping us realize what we do. And Stacey likes to say how we're wired as humans. I'm telling you, we all can get pressed and some interesting behaviors will emerge if it's no other solution that we can think of or know of at the time.
This makes me think of the quote that says, violence is what happens when we don't know what to do with our suffering.
Exactly.
You know, that is where we go, and it's a survival skill. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean that it doesn't create an absolute shit show, but there has to be some kind of an outlet when we don't know what to do. It's going to be something interesting. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to get vulnerable. You're absolutely going to have to get vulnerable. And just like Brooke said, you know, start the conversation out by saying something along the lines of, hey, I want you to know that I care about you and I love you and I want this to work. This relationship that we have and that we've created and spent all these years in matters to me. And I want it to get better. There's some places here that I'm not happy. Okay. So I'm asking you to work on our relationship because I can't imagine that you're happy too. Like, I know you're not. So that would take us to number 2, which is instead of going, why won't you get help? Instead, ask the question, what are the biggest concerns that come up for you around getting help? And this is going to help us uncover some of those things that I mentioned in the beginning of the show. Like, well, I'm afraid I'm going to be the bad guy, or I'm afraid of where this is going to take us. I feel like the relationship is going to be compromised. You're going to hear those kinds of things in this question. And here's the thing, when you ask the question of them, what are the biggest concerns that you have around us getting help? Make sure you share yours too, because I bet you got some. I'm afraid of this too. I'm struggling with this too. I'm nervous about where we're going to go too. And then all of a sudden you find that you're kind of both on the same page. You both have things coming up. It's just one is ready to face it and one isn't. That's all. It's really that simple. And so be a demonstration of what it is you're asking them to do. Confronting ourselves really is the most courageous thing we will do ever as a human being. And so you're ready to do it and they're just not, but talk about what that is. And ironically, seeing you do it and them recognizing that you have fears and concerns about this too, and you being able to understand what their fears and concerns are, creates a wonderful, safe place where we can venture together. You know, it's different than saying, okay, you've got it all figured out, or think you've got it all figured out and you're ready to take on the dragon and I'm not. That's very different than, hey, come on, hold my hand. I'm scared too. Let's do this together. Let's lean in and see what happens. I'm ready to face it. And so that's where this needs to come from. So then number 3 is going to be share with them why you want it to work, why you want to work on it. Because oftentimes what we make up in our heads is very different than what's actually happening. Like, why do you want to work on this? That might be a conversation. Why don't we just leave it the way it is? You know, I mean, I know it's not great, but at least it's something. I'm terrified of being alone. That's a real fear. If we work on this, I'm afraid I'm going to be alone. Okay. So why do you want to work on it? Create a vision of what's potentially possible from your lens, from your experience. And I'm going to invite you to reach back into the past in your relationship. This is where, when it was good, what made it good? Like, talk about those things. Remember the vision that you planned and you talked about for endless hours in the beginning. We need a new vision. And we need to know that, gosh, we're going to venture there together, you know, and that's what this is all about. And then that becomes a place of inspiration instead of a place of belittling, criticizing, breaking down, blaming, finger pointing, judging. That's not going to take us anywhere. So point to the vision, share what it is you see. Why do you want to work on it? Tell them, what do you see as possible? Where do you feel like the potential is with the two of you in this? And then let them know that you're going to begin creating a better you, because that is what you bring to the table. And that is all we have to bring to the table is you in this thing called our relationship. And you're going to say it like this. You know what? I've decided that this is so important and that this vision is so possible in my own mind's eye that I'm going to get better creating a better me so that at least I can show up better in this relationship and do my part. And I would love it if you would join me on that adventure. I mean, after all, this is how I feel I can best create what it is I'm hoping for and desiring and wanting in our relationship. And I appreciate the fact that maybe you may not be ready to go there, and that's okay. but I'm going to get started because I think that's the greatest gift and impact that I can make on doing my part in this relationship. And here's the thing you need to understand. When we feel scared and awkward, we need a catalyst sometimes to get busy doing the things that we know we need to be doing or that would be really good for us. And you know what often that catalyst is? Pain. There's a saying that says being hungry, starvation is a really great motivator. Like it'll get us to do things that we wouldn't do otherwise. And that's the gift sometimes our relationship partner brings to our lives is they're saying, okay, great. I hear you. I understand you. I want you to know I get it. But here's what I'm going to do. And I hope you'll join me. And that becomes the catalyst in the moment that goes, oh, wow, I can't convince them to stay. I can't convince them to wait. Like this train is moving out. Now that's a different conversation. I'd better decide whether I'm going to get on it or all those fears that I was afraid of happening anyway are going to happen anyway. And that will be the thing to kind of get me to show up, not for you per se, but for me, for myself, when that's a terrifying adventure.
Well, and therein, I just would add, therein lies the gift of, what we call these catalytic moments. And you hear and read about people say that they discover a very significant, say, health challenge. And some of those people will share with you in their own terms and experience that like it was the best thing that happened to me in that it motivated me at the highest level to turn and face lots of other things that weren't going well. I mean, some version of that, right? I mean, so
yes.
Like, wow, they took that incredibly challenging situation and just opened it up for exploration in every area of their life. So
if we allow the hesitant partner to enroll us in waiting, guess what's going to happen? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you already know that. I'm just going to highlight it. Nothing. Instead, what you're going to continue to do is the breakdown that you're currently experiencing.
Yeah, and I would just say the two things that we as a family are constantly navigating with people that call me and Brooke talks to on social media and stuff is the indecision and waiting. If we can be the catalyst to move you from that, we have done a good job, in my opinion. Put a toe in the water. But I think it really, especially when 95% of the time, two people in the relationship, even though they need help, the average new statistic Stacy just found somewhere, waits 6 years before they do something. But my point here is of great passion, as you can tell, is they have no idea realizing that you could choose to do everything that Stacy is laid out and almost finished before we rudely interrupted her, that yes, you can do all this still honor your partner, but be the braveheart we like to call and start not by threatening and leveraging it, but be the demonstration of what's possible. See, that's a whole framework that no one talks about.
Well, and here's the thing that is going to give you, the person who wants to start working on the relationship, because yes, the relationship is kind of the thing that you're focusing on, but there's really a driver inside of you that you want to explore and become a better you. Like that's what's driving this, really, if we get down to the bottom or foundation of it all. And then the throw off is you get to be the catalyst for change. I mean, that's just a benefit. So you win either way.
Yep.
You get started going and you're going to feel better. That's going to alleviate the stress and pressure and the begging and the pleading and the haranguing on your partner because you're going to get busy going. And then as you learn and grow yourself, you're going to be an improved catalyst to your partner. You're just going to be able to navigate the ups and downs of the relationship from a better place. I mean, one does absolutely have the power to change the trajectory of a conversation and our communication and our experience together.
And again, I would just point out, that's not just us saying that. There was a recent woman who's Harvard educated and such, where she has, there's case studies to where one person does have the ability and power to change the trajectory of a relationship, one of the two. So that's not us saying that has now been,
well,
she even said though, but she even said, like, until I had read this, I didn't believe it myself. This woman of very high credentials and such. So I just think, I know we know it, but it's powerful to get outside confirmation so people don't think we've kind of lost our marbles over here in the Love Shack. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, it really is. I mean, you just think about how, have you ever seen a person that can navigate a difficult conversation eloquently? And even though everybody's emotionally fired up, they have the ability to continue to pave the way through to the better side of that conversation, to a place of understanding and everybody feeling heard. Like, that's skill. That's absolute skill.
Well, and I share with people on my calls, I say, look, here's the thing. You start working with us, we're going to encourage you and teach and mentor you how to show up as the best version of yourself, all the while continue to invite that hesitant partner. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you have much emotional difference when you're invited somewhere versus when you're told you have to be somewhere? Think about, they say, oh my gosh, yes. So I said, well, there you go. Think about it. If you're constantly showing up as a different, new, improved version of yourself and constantly inviting, and you're going to do that by behaving in ways that we teach and mentor you, come on. There's no way that it's not going to go better. Again, we cannot guarantee, because that's out of integrity, other than we're going to guarantee that you're going to stay together or not, or because I hear a lot of stories from people. They've talked to other platforms and bodies of work, and that's all great. But I say
they promise that there's going to be a specific
outcome. They say, yeah, if you work with me for 3 calls or sessions, I say, you know what? That's BS. But I always go back to what we guarantee as a family. We're going to give you everything we got for it to go well. That's what I can plant my flag. That's one of our communication principles. Mm-hmm. It's going to go well because we're going to give you everything we got for it to do so. Mm-hmm. That's the guarantee.
Yeah. So here's the thing. And we know these principles that we're sharing with you because of working in the space for more than a decade. And so because of this, we invite you to, if this is your situation, jump into Better Love Club. Like, there is no better way for you to get started moving, improving you, than to jump into the Better Love Club and know that when your partner's ready, they can join you at any time for no additional cost. Like, they can come along and jump in any time. And in the meantime, just think about it. You get to jump into the Better Love Club and you get to start sharing with them what you're learning and the experiences that you're having and the impact that that's having on you. That's a catalyst. And they go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's nothing like what I thought.
We just had a brand new member, just was on our very first, whenever you're listening to this, she emailed Brooke and said, I'd like to add my partner, and boom. The partner was given the same confidentiality agreement that we ask everyone to sign. And yeah, now he is a member, and hopefully he'll show up this coming Monday night and be a part of the group.
So all that to say, the Better Love Club is a really great place for you to get started and encourage and demonstrate to your partner what you're learning, what you're experiencing. And that's going to be the best catalyst you could ever give them while you continue to explore what's stopping them, as you share what your fears and concerns are.
And you can put a toe in the water, risk-free. If you don't feel like it's a good place for you or we don't provide value, guess what? We're going to give you your money back. So there really is no risk.
Okay. So I feel like I need to go through those solution steps just really quickly, just as a recap here.
And Brooke and I won't interrupt you.
Well, and here's the thing. Let's do some takeaways. What are some of the biggest points that you really want to highlight as we wrap up this conversation today from each of you? And my part will be, I'm going to recap these solutions because that is, I think, the best thing that I can give you on how to approach this. The first one is you got to get vulnerable. You're going to have to talk about what makes you afraid and why it is you want to work on this relationship and why it is you would want to see happen as a vision. So that's the first 3. Get vulnerable, talk about and ask, what is it that makes you nervous about getting help? Here's mine. And 3 is, okay, share the vision. Why do you want to work on it? Share that with your partner. And then let them know that, hey, I think this is so important. Here's what I'm going to do. I've chosen to get started myself and know that I'm not attempting to leave you behind, or I do want to understand and accept the reality that you're not ready, and that's fine. I'm going to get started and I'm going to get jumping into the BLC. And I just want you to know these people have made it so easy that you can join me anytime with your own private login. And then you're going to go to the betterloveclub.com and you're going to put a toe in the water. Sign up for a month. Come and join us and check it out. We're going to know instantly if that is something that's going to work for you. And then as you demonstrate and show up more and more, the things that you're learning and sharing that with your partner, which we're absolutely going to encourage, they're going to jump in. I can't tell you how many couples on the front side have said, oh, there's no way they will ever come. And sure enough, they come along because they see and understand that there's a different experience that's happening in the household in regards to how you show up, and they want more of that. It becomes an inspiration. And yeah, they might be a little sarcastic. Oh, you must be saying those things that woman told you to say. Yeah, I am. And they work really, really well. So, you want to join me? Come on, don't be offended by that, because they're going to see and notice. And if it's still scaring them, they're going to try and shut it down by saying, oh yeah, there's that crazy lady again telling you what to say. Yeah, it is. And I love it. And it's working really, really well. So that's what I would encourage you to do instead of probably what you've been doing for months or years. It's a better solution for everybody. So what did the two of you have?
Well, I would just say, Stacy hears often like, God, could I have you in my ear? So I can assure you, if you present it like that, your version of that, it's a very much invitational, encouraging, positive. I'm going to choose to step in. It means nothing that I don't care for you, and that I'm not trying to be superior to you, and you're just this tag along. I felt it, and I've heard it many times. So remember, the sharing of how you're going to move forward will be the catalyst, however he or she chooses to step in or not step in, or however long they take, because of the way that you're doing it. Again, you're behaving in a way I would bet probably that your partner has not experienced you, especially around this very sensitive topic. Okay, so you got to set it up for success out of the gate. And my sense is what Stacey just shared with us, the literal, her version of it. Just put your version around that. If you need some specific help on that, we can help you with that in a private session as well. But we can help you. You can come into the Better Love Club and ask a question during a live session, or ask them privately to us, and we'll help you.
What about you, Brooke?
Anything, Brooke, for you?
I would just say, if your partner is acting like they don't want to work on the relationship, I'd probably say 95% of the time it's because they're scared. And if your friend was scared about something, how would you encourage them to do it? Would it be to berate them, or tell them why they suck, or that they're a little baby and they shouldn't be scared, or that, you don't care about me because you're not going to do this with me? No, you would be reassuring, and you would tell them they don't need to be scared, or that you're scared too, and we're going to do it anyway. You would be very kind. Or if your child was scared, same thing. You'd be very kind about it. You wouldn't be a bully. So I would just invite you to think about it in that way, because it kind of takes the focus off you and making this a direct affront towards you, and helps you know that they're in their head just as much as you're in your head. It's not about them not caring about you. It's them being scared and nervous and all of these things. And so how could you approach it knowing that?
Yeah, I love that. So as I've already said, spread this around. We need to do a better job of being able to talk about exploring getting the help that we so need when we need it. And I know that nothing good happens when we wait, and I understand why we wait. And so my encouragement is always stop waiting, and even just one person, get busy doing what we know we need to do instead. So that takes us to turning the corner here. We're going to have a little bit of follow the fun.
Just your favorite moment of every show?
It's pretty darn close. I like the teaching part, let's be honest, but I do love to have a little bit of fun. And I know it's kind of like a screeching, and wait a minute, what are we doing again? But I want you to realize, as human beings, we can do that. We can have a screeching moment where we put the problems on the shelf, and we can have a little bit of fun, and we can go in a totally different direction right now. There's no perfect time or way to do that. I can just put the brakes on and go, okay, we're going to drop this now, and we're going to go have some fun.
It's one of our 6 foundations inside Better Love Club, is it not?
Mm-hmm. It is play and novelty.
Play and novelty.
And here's the thing. If we don't learn how to get good at this, it's kind of like, I can't have fun with you. I can't let you kiss me or hold me or tell you that I love you if you've just pissed me off. The hell you can't. Absolutely you can. And I would encourage you to develop the ability to challenge that type of thinking. I can be so mad at you and tell you I love you all in the same breath, right? I can, because as human beings, we have the ability to feel all of our emotions. And unfortunately, we tend to hang out in the ones that are not so great and avoid the ones that will refuel us and help us feel better until we solve the problem, which just sets you up so that you're going to hang out in misery a little longer. That doesn't make any sense when you think about it. So you have to be able to emotionally put on the brakes and go, okay, here we are. Yeah, we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about something fun and delightful now.
So I'm waited with bated breath.
Are you?
On this week's fun. And I just share with you, listener, that I don't typically know. I cruised the notes real quick before we started to record, but I don't. And Stacey's just like a kid at Toys R Us when she's out here. Jiggy the coon dog is next to her, and she's drinking her coffee, and she comes with usually the follow the fun and the song. By the way, the song is incredible this week. I just will share that real quick.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, hang on, it's going to all make sense.
We even had Brooke listen to it before the episode, just might you add, because Mom too was fired up.
Yeah, this is let's just let it play out naturally. I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves.
We're excited.
I know.
We're following some fun.
So today is a little follow the fun moment that I call Let's Talk. And nobody really likes to hear that.
Really? That's fun. That almost seems like an oxymoron.
I know, but just hang with me. It's going to be really fun and helpful, shall we say. Let's Talk my idea about this came from a Native American culture. There are a few tribes that use a talking stick to keep the peace. It works simply on the principle of whoever has the stick is the person who gets to speak, and the other person is encouraged to listen, which is always the hardest part of a conversation, i.e. resisting the temptation to speak, like listen, and focus on the listening part instead of what's being said. That often takes practice because as everybody starts reacting, we are thinking about what we're going to say, not about what we're hearing, and attempting to do the heavy lifting of understanding something that doesn't make any sense to you. Like that's where the work in communication happens, is in the listening department. So to help you with this, we want to have a little fun with this. I want you to choose an object around your house that could be your quasi talking stick. And it could be a rock. It could be a picture of the two of you. It could be a kitchen utensil, or for that matter, it could be an absolute favorite power tool. Does not matter. Okay. What I want you to do though is be able to deem it and set it aside as your talking stick. And I want to encourage you to attach a note that says, if there's ever a time when you don't think I'm not listening to you, hand this to me and I promise I'll pause and listen. And when I need you to listen, instead of yelling, I'll hand it back to you. And you're going to attach that to the object. And then we're going to make it really wonderful. We're going to put it in a very fancy bag or box, and we're going to wrap it up, put a bow on it. And we're going to present it as though I am presenting a very precious gift to you. So I might, surround a meal with it, or have a little snack and our favorite beverage. And I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to present it to you and let you unwrap it. And here's the thing. I know that this is going to change the ability of where you focus when you attempt to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. Like whoever has the stick gets to talk and you get to practice the listening. And then it's then and there in those moments we get to understand the wrestling that goes on inside of us, that urge to go, oh, but I have something to say. Oh, yeah. Just pause. There's going to be time for that. That takes practice. So I kind of wrapped up, a little fun and something important that would help us have better communication, and threw in a little, history while we were at it. Now that's fun, don't you think?
Yes.
Ha! Okay. As everybody was talking about the song, it is pretty spectacular. Jill Scott is one of my artists. And for those of you who are new to the podcast, I select a song each and every episode to kind of communicate through music the gist of what it is we're talking about, or the experience that we're trying to create in our teachings and our lessons. And I do it because, yes, I love music. And I think sometimes music can say it better than we can say it in a whole bunch of words. And I feel like Jill Scott today in her song, Whenever You're Around, knocked it out of the park. So I had to share it with the team. I was so excited. And this is why you're going to understand. We've just talked about how to enroll your partner into the idea of getting help in your relationship. And she opens up the song by saying, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. I'm going to have to sing it.
Oh boy.
And she says, I've been talking to this man and he makes me smile when I'm down. He says sweet things, and all the things are things I need to hear. And that's as far as it's gone, I promise. But here's the thing. I miss you. I miss what we have. And it seems like, though, when you're around, I'm always alone. My hope is I can have you with me. What happened to our relationship in the past. Mm-hmm. But the problem really is I'm lonely whenever you're around. And man, it's a good one. And it's got a little good jazz tune to it too. So you're going to want to dance to it. And I want you to know that you can go and get this song by going to our website and checking out our Spotify playlist, or you can just go directly to Spotify and search up, I think, Brooke, it's the Love Shack Live playlist. Did I say that right? Yay! All right, people, we got to wrap this up. Okay. These people have spent some time with us, and we want to thank you for that, for taking time out of your day and listening to us here in the Love Shack. And if by chance you have a conversation about love, sex, and relationships that you would like us to have here on the show, absolutely go to our website and let us know. Come on. We're all in this together, and we can all get better at this together. So reach out to us. We're dedicated to talking about the things that you want to hear and listen to, the things that you feel like are going to improve the experiences that you're having in your relationships right now. So I think that's a wrap. We're Tom and Stacey Bartley along with Brooke. It's great to be here with you today.
All right, it's time to leave the Love Shack. But before we part ways, we want you to know our door is always open and we'll leave the porch light on, ready to welcome you back whenever you need a dose of relationship wisdom. For more resources and tools, visit us at loveshacklive.com to dive deeper into the topics we've explored and find additional support for your relationship journey. Stay connected by subscribing to our podcast. Thank you for being part of our Love Shack Live community.